Today we're talking about Airplane, one of the best comedy movies of all time.
Indeed, and one that Justin has actually seen.
Yeah, I know. We're not going to do anything current just because of...
Oh, what? I can't rant for 5 minutes about the shitty state of American film?
No, please go. Rant.
Okay, so this is my 5 minutes. I saw F1 and I saw Superman, and for the love of God, it's 2025. In both films, not two single female characters ever spoke to each other. Superman, it's literally Mrs. Maisel as Lois Lane, did not work for me. They have a girl dressed as a porn star in the newsroom, and then the slightly better dressed but equally bimbo is portrayed as just an annoyance to the now stud Jimmy Olsen, who must be like super hung or something because he's just batting girls off with a stick. So, horrible day for feminism. The film was, all the guys are whining about how in touch Superman is. He's banging a human. Of course he's going to embrace his human side. So Superman, you can do better. F1, oh my God. First of all, F1, if you want to decrease drag, have the guys lay flat, okay, and drive with their fingertips and their hands. They all sit up because no one's rethought this. Why do your tires not last a race? I will tell you this, F1, my attention span lasts about as long as your tires, which is 20 laps. The film F1, okay, so there's this girl technical director, but the team is in last place until Brad Pitt comes in, tells her how to do her job, and then suddenly they start winning. She goes from, I never hook up during the season, I would never hook up with a teammate, a few winks, a few drinks, she's in his bed. What the hell? So from a feminist standpoint, we're back in the 1950s. I got to give both films a big thumbs down. Do better, Hollywood. Women actually speak to each other.
I just looked it up, and neither one was written by a woman. I'm shocked.
Oh, shocking. Shocking. And so it's all sensitive new age man. Brad Pitt, he's stuck in golden boy mode. We really needed some Nick Cage, dark, brooding.
Ooh,
you don't want to see Brad Pitt showing up with a big smile on his face,
Speaking of Nick Cage, did you know he was supposed to be in Superman 25 years ago? So Kevin Smith wrote the script, I'm almost positive. And he was paid $7 million and it was never made, and he was paid. And I think it would have been cool because it was back in the late 90s. Superman died in the comic book, and he was talking about dark and brooding. He literally died. And he was so negative, so dark, so cynical, because that was the 90s.
And, Nick Cage in Valley Girl, that was the perfect, audition prep. So Brad Pitt's studio Plan B, which he had with Jennifer Aniston when they were married, produced it. And, I get it. So the whole story is, 30 years ago, he was this up-and-coming F1 driver, and he walked away. And yes, he gets his redemption story. So for all the 50-year-olds out there who feel like they're washed-up losers, this film's for you. But Brad Pitt he's not, I didn't see him as sexy. He looks like shit. In the posters, they clean him up a lot, but he looks beaten up. Not in a good way.
I like I'm dark like that, but I like movies. I would have liked it if I haven't seen it, but if he died in flames,
I know, right? That would have been too French. The French movies end.
I love movies like that where you don't get what you want.
Well, he wins, but he dies trying, kind of thing. Yeah. So I hope F1 listens to me and they redesign their cars, because all the guys sit down, and I'm sorry, from your butt to your head is a lot more drag than if you're just lying flat, right?
Was there an Apple Plus product placement in there? Apple product placement? Because it's made by Apple, right? Did you notice or not?
They might have had Macs, but again, I'm an Android and Samsung kind of girl. I don't know if they specifically mentioned iPhones, but if they did, it would have been a thumbs down for me.
Yeah, you and
I'm sure it was there. I just didn't notice.
Android, so wow, that was
okay. Airplane.
Zucker Brothers, Jim Abrams, right?
Yep.
I
met.
You met who?
One of the Zucker brothers at his home in Westwood. I was there a couple times.
David Zucker and. Right.
So, this was a long time ago back in LA. I met a David Zucker at this networking party in West Hollywood. And he kept wanting to talk to me, and I kept blowing him off, which just made me that much more attractive, right? Because once girls heard he was a producer, they were like sitting in his lap. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I got to go talk to some people. So after blowing him off 4 or 5 times, I was like, just give the guy a chance. And he thought it was really funny and really amazing. And he wanted to take me out to lunch and talk about the business. And he said his family did Airplane, but he was not the one that did Airplane. So they were cousins. There was the Brooklyn branch and like the Midwestern branch. It was the Midwestern cousins, but there are 2 David Zuckers. So I worked with the less famous one, but I got to go to the more famous guy's house 2 or 3 times for business meetings and stuff.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I would love to. Those guys are comedy legends, heroes, kind of invented a genre, really.
Very a lot like Shitshow.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, funny enough, sometimes you read something and then you absorb it and then it comes out in an unexpected way. And I read the book, Surely You Can't Be Serious, about the history of Airplane a year ago, like almost exactly a year ago. And it was amazing. I mean, the making of is crazy how uncompromising they were in their casting decisions and their writing and their vision of exactly what they wanted, and they would not back down. And they're second-time filmmakers because they made Kentucky Fried Pizza.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't back down. And I think the 3 of them, they were basically in a pact, They were like, they couldn't be broken because they would only do it unanimously. So maybe if 1 or 2 wanted to back down, but the 3rd didn't, they just wouldn't do it. And and like to back up a little, it was actually Kentucky Fried Theater,
movie.
Right?
I think it was Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah, but
Kentucky. Yep.
Well, we were talking about that, right? That watched that show in LA at a warehouse, and that it used to be like, smelly, old, mildewy warehouse, but all these Hollywood elite would go there. Yep. And then they moved from Milwaukee to LA too, right? It started in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
They moved out to LA. And then
I'm not sure the city.
And he's basically like, I could sell this to NBC or whatever.
Well, they did have a TV show for a minute.
Did they?
The Zucker. Yeah, It was a lot of like visual comedy. It wasn't quite slapstick and it wasn't quite sitcom. So it didn't, like, nobody really knew what to make of it. It was very clever. Very clever. It was a great like audition reel, right, to submit to get paid work as a writer, as a comic, but it just didn't find its place,
Yeah, I mean, it was network TV.
Yeah.
It's a tough place especially in the 70s, for something kind of ahead of its time or experimental or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even Saturday Night Live didn't take a while to find its feet. It was all over the place at first, and good thing they stuck with it, but...
Yeah, so I've told you this before. During the pandemic, I watched every episode of Laugh-In, which was a primetime sketch comedy show in the 60s. And they called it Laugh-In because they had sit-ins and love-ins to protest the war. And a lot of people were afraid that we would have civil war over Vietnam because we were sending, 18-year-old kids off to war that didn't want to go for a war nobody understood. So they just wanted to bring everybody together and laugh. And Lorne Michaels was one of their writers.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. We're bringing the Mad Magazine, the Laugh-In, and the SNL energy.
I had no idea that that's where Laugh-In came from. Wow. So it was basically politically anti-political. Like, it was a political statement to let's not be political. Let's come together. Let's have fun. We're all Americans.
Yeah, Joanne Woodward was one of the like regulars. She was one of the stars, and I think they put out like a box set, and I was crashing at a friend's place, and we were watching it, and so they would intercut the show with interviews, and she's the one that explained it. Ruth Buzzy, she's a comedy legend. She was on Match Game. Have you ever watched Match Game?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great comedy training ground. I watched all the reruns. So that show started off very clean. And it was very boring. It was two people, and they would be like, name a wind instrument that's over 20 pounds or something. It was just stupid. But then one of the Mad Magazine writers said, let's make it dirty. And that's why it was called Match Game 74, because they already had a match game that was boring. And so the questions would be like, Harry loves it when his wife puts butter on his blank. And then, of course, you're supposed to think dick, ass, foot, whatever. And so they would get regular people. It was two regular contestants who had to match the comic's response.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have watched that show because you learn how comics think and you learn how sideways we are, right? And how crazy we are. Because it was network TV, so they couldn't say what they were thinking. You know, everybody, your first thought is dick, right? Because that would be funny. But you can't say that. So they would say, puts it on his turkey, puts it on his chicken, you know. And the poor regular people would say their answer. And the straight answer is loves it when she puts butter on his toast.
Oh, wow.
He just loves it when she puts butter on his toast. And then all the comics are like butter in his nightgown, you know, butter in his underwear. Just the dumbest responses. That would be fun.
That's
if we wanted to do a movie night.
I love the restrictions breed creativity, right? So some of these old 40s and 50s, I mean, even the
70s.
Well, you know, the Birds, isn't there a Louis Armstrong song, Birds Do It, Bees Do It, Everybody Does It, Let's Fall in Love? You know that song?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that's so great because anything dirty about it's in your own mind and not
right. Like My Ding-a-ling. That song got banned from the radio.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that was great. Just the language they had back then. Have you ever heard the term confirmed bachelors?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they had gay people back then. They would just call it something different. And Liberace was, I mean everybody knew. Yeah. And my grandmother loved them. So many people did.
If you knew, you knew the kind of thing. Like if you never heard of gay people, you were just like, oh, he's so funny. Oh, he's so crazy, you know? And if you were closeted gay, you're probably like, he's so fabulous. Yeah. But it was still a secret. You know, Rock Hudson was totally gay, but they knew that would ruin his career. So he was super quiet. And I think he passed away of AIDS.
He did. And I think he was in Fort Lauderdale by the way.
Oh.
A lot of older Hollywood people retired here. But Leslie Nielsen, I saw him soon before he passed. I wanted to go talk to him so bad, but then he was sick. And I don't know. I was like, the best thing I could with a lot of people. Like I saw Mr. Miyagi soon before he died, and I'm like, I can't.
Oh wow. Okay, remind me to never meet you in person.
Pat Morita, sorry. Oh yeah.
No, I'm just saying. You see everybody right before they pass.
Oh my God, that feels like the M. Night Shyamalan movie, where all at once I realized that I'm the celebrity killer.
Well, maybe you're the angel. They'll look at it this way. You're an angel that brings peace and comfort to suffering people. So some of them die, but clearly not everyone that you see passes away.
Leave them alone, I guess.
No, your job is to send them peace and love in your prayers.
Yeah. So the funny thing about back to Airplane is the story is one of them, I think, in the middle of the night saw the old movie it was based on. What was that?
No way.
Yeah, there's a specific movie that it was inspired by, 0 Hour.
Okay.
And it's 1957 movie, and one of them was watching it in the middle of in the middle of the night, they used to have crazy shows
Yep.
And he's like, this is hilarious, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was just so intentionally ridiculous.
I'm writing down 0 Hour. Well, comedy comes... Oh, sorry. I keep talking. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, it sounds like some historic thing now, but, you and me, we have a million ideas, and this was probably a million brain farts they had. And one of them is like, maybe there's something here. What if we did a serious, a comedy version of this that's so dry because these actors are so intense. And they wrote the script. The script's so good. I think the script, if I remember, is so good that everybody in Hollywood knew about it. There was nobody that didn't laugh out loud when you're reading this thing.
Well, the great thing is comedy comes from taking things seriously. That's what makes it so funny. So, you know, people would laugh at like the OCD guy who has to have the pencil, you know, 3 pencils lined up this way and 2 pencils lined up that way. Comedy comes from taking things seriously. And what I saw in the film was it had a really good structure. So the backbone of the film, right? A guy who was in Nam. And keep in mind, in 1974, whenever this came out, Nam was really fresh. You know, now we think of veterans as like these 50, 60-year-old guys, but you could be 22 and be a veteran because you'd been in Nam. Right. So he was in Nam and he was afraid to fly a plane. And he has a shitty job and his beautiful stewardess girlfriend is going to dump him because he won't get off his ass and get a job. And the airlines are calling, they will hire you, but I can't get in a plane. And so she dumps him and he runs to the airport to try to buy a ticket on her flight to try to get her to come back with him. And he leaves the cab running, which is hilarious, all these sight gags, but it is truly him trying to win his girlfriend back. And of course, it's Hollywood. Both pilots pass out and he has to fly the plane, you know? Oh my God. And he does, and he does it successfully. He gets over his fear and he gets the girl. Like, that's the plot. And then they find all these hilarious little things to throw on top of it.
That's why none of the, or I shouldn't say none, but so many of the imitators couldn't come close because they didn't have the fundamental elements of a good movie.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right.
And by the way, what makes the movie work, and they talk about a lot in the book, is they picked a very believable, great couple that you actually want. They're believable. You want them to make it. There's chemistry.
She's very sweet and she has a good point. Like, get off your ass and get a job. But at the same time, his PTSD, like, a lot of people could relate to that. Like, they didn't even call it PTSD back then. And who knows what bullshit he may have seen in the world. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, the 0 Hour, it's World War II, which if you think about it, it's not nearly as dark as Vietnam. I mean, World War II, I mean, yes, it's dark. There are a lot of people that returned with major issues, but it's not as, it wasn't as fresh, it wasn't as recent, and it wasn't such a shit show.
Well, it was us saving the world. You know, that's why we went to Korea in the first place. We bailed out the world in World War I. We did it again in World War II. We were absolutely the good guys. We saved Europe. And then we got a little too big for our britches. We went over to Korea and fucked up. And then we went over to Vietnam and made it even worse. And now we're kind of still recovering from that.
One of the reasons
after World War II,
that you can tell the movie's so good is everybody has a different favorite scene.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't even know where to, I mean, surely you can't be serious, but the shit hits the fan. I mean, one of my favorite scenes is the voice of the announcers in the airport arguing over the unintended pregnancy. I mean, that's hilarious.
So I guess we can say comedy is a spice. It's not the full meal. You have to have a story that you can slap comedy onto. Comedy is an accessory. Nobody sets out, or they shouldn't, to be like, I'm going to make a comedy movie and it's all going to be funny. You have to have a backbone to hang the comedy on, because comedy in itself is very short and it's funny, but there's no reason to continue. Like, you want the characters to get back together. Like, he's so desperate to get the girl, right? And she's like, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, I really want to. And then, you know, the universe intervenes and gives him a chance to redeem himself. So if we were to make a shit show movie, I guess it would be about a broke ad agency, a bunch of unemployed creatives, too crazy for HBO, right? Not boring enough for NPR. And we start doing fan art, and then we start getting attention, and we have to decide which brands really want us because we're cool, and which brands are secretly greenwashing and like being horrible.
Crisis of conscience, right?
Yeah, and so you know, should we take the
guy that is like us? Like, there's a coffee brand that I gave a shout out to on the podcast today, because they're just a responsible Portland brand. They're called Cantilever Coffee Company. I haven't actually tried them yet, but I gave them a shout out because I believe in their values. And what somebody is a big fan of the Shitshow in their group. So anyway, I relate to them, and they're like, they relate to us. And then what happens if Folgers comes along and they offer us,
or Starbucks?
Yeah, Starbucks. They offer us a ton of money and a ton of cash, and actually maybe even a lot of creative freedom. But we don't share the same. We're more like Starbucks in the late 70s, you know, when they first started it. And
so for this movie, so just to sweeten the plot, right? So the Folgers or the Starbucks, either it's a girl or a guy, and you or I fall in love. Like, it's a guy, I fall in love with him. I don't know who he is, right? I'm just walking down the street or whatever, and I drop my books, and he picks them up, and we start talking. Or I'm wearing my Reno shirt or my SAG-AFTRA shirt, or we start talking, and I fall in love with the guy, and I have no idea who he is. And then, you know, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm at my ad agency job, and he walks in. And he's from Exxon. Like, comedy is also extremes. Exxon is an absolute shit company, right? The Valdez spill or BP, like any oil company, we can't touch because of their shit. But I love this guy. And so the drama would be, is he going to quit the company and come work with us and help us with Cantilever Coffee, you know, and use his inheritance or whatever to you know, help them get a new factory or help them save the forest in Costa Rica, or it could be a girl. I know you're married, so I didn't go with that one first, but you know, you're just walking the dog, and then she's walking the dog, and it's a meet cute, and in the movie you're single, and you know, she's a Christian and you're a Christian, and you start falling in love, and then one day I'm like, oh, hey, boss, this big company wants to talk to us about doing their ad campaign. It's $150 million. And we're like, yay! We'll pay off our credit cards. We'll be able to move out of this shithole. It's going to be amazing. Yay! And they come in, and it's whatever company you hate. Apple. And so that's our crisis, right? And we might have to break up the company. Are you going to keep dating the girl? Is she going to turn around and do the right thing? If you want to make it go dark, then, okay, she takes her ads to your rival from advertising school, who's a complete shithead, who stole your ideas, and that's how he got his place, kind of like Mad Men. And that would be the movie. But in the end, our, like, gorilla friends that we've been helping, like the homeless people that we've been feeding, they go and blow up the place. You know, some shit like that, some Robin Hood kind of thing.
What about the whole, you live long, what is it, you die a hero, or you live long enough to become the villain?
Ooh.
I mean, that's what you're reminding me of, because, I mean, people have brought it up before, like, what happens when we're successful? Are we going to become the big, bad, evil company?
But you don't have to. I mean, I was thinking about this last night. Why do people get rich? Like, entertainers get rich, and they just live in their Hollywood mansion, and they're fabulous all day. Why aren't they going to the Midwest to actually meet their fans and try to connect with people? It's like, we get rich so we can tell the world to go F itself.
Well, I've heard an exception would be Adam Sandler. I've known so many people that met him, and he talks to everybody. And he said I heard an interview with one of his friends that said, why do you do that? And he's like, well, that's why I am where I am. I mean, of course.
Yeah. I told you I was supposed to open for him, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, my God. Hopefully it'll happen one day. Let's manifest that.
Yeah. Tell all your friends, you know, this hilarious comic out in Vegas. I'm going to be doing comedy on Monday. I got booked on an all-female lineup, and I'm doing my songs. I was going to, like, not sing. I was going to do, like, new stand-up, but they're like, no, we want your songs. I'm like, well, okay, then you will get the songs. Like,
wow. I love your songs. That's how we first met.
Yeah, I love my songs, too. But you know what? They were written by sitting through a lot of crappy open mics. And I'm getting so busy now. Like, there's only one really good open mic in Vegas, and it's on Wednesdays. And I'm so busy on Wednesdays. I'm like, I want to go watch open mic. But now there's a Thursday one.
Because of the audience. Well, I mean, your audience of other comedians is, whew. It's rough.
But see, that's where you learn the most and you grow. Back in New York, to get any stage time, you got to bring 10 people, paying $20 and buying 2 drinks. So out here, any idiot can just show up and get on stage. But it's the anti-AI, because I'm hearing people's thoughts that I would never hang out with, just because different social circles. Not that I'm too good for them or they're too good for me, but I'm not doing weed in the bathroom or cocaine in the parking lot or sleeping with the manager. But for 3 minutes, I get to hear their thought process. And yeah, even if it's crappy comedy, you learn something about the people and sort of the culture that they represent. So I know if my stuff is good. I've been doing this long enough. It's just great to get up and get the tape and meet the people and try to find people that you vibe with. At open mics, a lot of times comics will help each other. I'll be like, hey, I really loved your joke. Can I give you some advice? Yes or no? Okay, yes. What if instead of this, you said that? And sometimes I have a better punchline. So I have this story about how I dated this French guy. No one knew if he was gay or just European. Nobody knew. And he was really good looking, and he was a musician. And he takes me to Starbucks, and he orders not a black coffee, right, which is the only thing a man should drink on a first date. He gets a chocolate chip frappuccino, the largest one, with whipped cream and sprinkles. And I was like, oh my God, that was a red flag. But my friend was like, Sadia, make it rainbow sprinkles and say it was a pride flag. I was like, that's brilliant. And that's what I do. So the first time I performed that, the Olympics were going on, and I did it as an Olympic sport. And I said, up next, we've got American Sadia Caron dating Frenchman, whatever his name was. Sadia's ordering her green tea soy latte. Safe move by Sadia. She's ordering what she always gets, true to herself. She didn't cheap out and get just a green tea. And now French is ordering. Oh no, did I hear the word frappuccino? Yes, Tom, I think you did. Sadia's heart is breaking. Chocolate chip frappuccino. Oh my God, how old is this guy? 3 years old? With whipped cream. Oh no, I can see Sadia's crying. They're definitely now in the negative zone for the points. That's a technical foul.
Oh my gosh. So it was being announced live.
Yeah, so I was announcing the date.
Wow.
In like third person. It was the Olympics. I thought it would be fun to try. That's the great thing about open mic. You're like, I want to grow as an actor. One time, Justin, I'm not proud of this, but I am. So many guys started making fun of me after my album came out. And it was not clever. It was not funny. It was very hurtful and very shitty. I would sing my songs and they would say stuff like, oh, I must be a whore. And they would be like, yeah, I slept with Sadia last night in the back of my car. And I would stand up and be like, quit lying. It's not funny. And so I got permission. I prepared. And I walked into open mic one night and I said to the club manager, hey, I'm working on some impressions because that's part of comedy. Would it be okay if I did a bunch of impressions? I'm going to do it Mad Magazine style, where instead of saying the name, not that I would ever make fun of you, Justin Cram, but I might call you Cram and Just. So everybody knows who it is, but it's not technically you. I got on stage and I imitated 5 of the comics that had given me the most shit. Body language, posture, and I just ripped on their comedy. One guy was such an asshole. I got up and I changed his name and I said, I tell such horrible jokes about women, you'll think I'm secretly gay. Well, he was a waiter in the club. He dropped his tray. You hear a crash.
Oh no. Oh my God.
So I used it to grow as an actor. I mean, I was 5 different characters, 5 different names, 5 different body languages, 5 different postures, 5 different intonations, 5 different speech patterns. So you just take the shit and you use it creatively. And I was smart because the manager gave me permission. So no one could get pissed at me. I didn't tell her who the fuck I was going to do.
It reminds me a little bit of Seinfeld because all of, like Kramer and George, and they're all imitating people. They just weren't famous people. And that's why they had all these interesting, cool characters. So the funny thing is that your impersonations of these people might really work in another context where you didn't need to know them. It might be funny for different reasons if you didn't know them.
I want to do a sitcom about a comedy club. You know, we have hospital shows, we have cop shows, but a karaoke bar / comedy club, infinite guest stars, And then the good ones, you can just keep coming back, right? But people come to Vegas just to do these open mics. People come from Austin, like they'll win Kill Tony, and then they'll drive out to Vegas to do the open mic out here. So that's what I want to do. And hell yeah, I'm going to make characters based on real people that I've met, but change them so I don't get in trouble.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how many characters are probably impersonations? And that's why they're so good and well-rounded, is because they are real people. Right?
Well, kind of like The Office. I know it started in the UK, but we all know the guy that's been promoted way beyond his capability. One of my favorite Michaelisms is when he's trying to say, now the tables have turned, and he comes in and he says, well, now the turntables, and just stops. And Mindy Kaling used real stuff that her parents would say because they're immigrants, I mean, I think, and they would get it almost right. And she would use that for Michael.
Oh, Mindy Kaling? You mean she was a writer on it?
Oh, you didn't know that? So she went to Cornell for playwriting, and she was doing a off-Broadway show where she played Matt Damon with some friend from college. And one of the writers from The Office saw her show and offered her a job. So she wrote for a couple seasons before she became Kelly Kapoor.
What was the name of the show?
Ryan,
was she on Parks and Rec? Was she on there too?
She was on
the Mindy Project. Right?
Yeah, that was hers.
That was
so
good.
Ryan, the character Ryan, was also a writer on the show, and so was Mose, Dwight's brother. He was one of the writers.
That show's so good because I like both of them. I like the original and I like the American. It's pretty unusual.
Yeah, they did a really great job. But look, I mean, Jim and Pam were normal people. Like, they're both attractive, but they're not like drop dead gorgeous, like Ashton Kutcher level, you know? Just nice, normal people living their nice, normal lives. And a lot of people related to that.
Sure. What a great show. And by the way, I read that young people, like middle school age and younger, are huge fans of The Office. And the reason is because I think it was a New York Times article. They said that young people relate to the show because Michael Scott's like their teacher.
Yeah.
And they're like,
and they're looking busy. Like, what an amazing show. I had a chance to be an extra on it. But the day they were shooting, like, they needed like 300 people for some scene I don't think ever actually made it into the show. And for some reason, I was busy that day and I couldn't apply. So it's not like they wanted me and I turned them down. It was like they needed literally anybody. And I just wasn't available that day. It was like, I so wanted to get on The Office.
That sucks.
But I did a lot of other cool stuff. You know, but there's always the heartbreak along the way. So people think that acting is like you wake up one day, you walk down the street, you get an agent, you go to one audition, and you get a show. That happened to Ashton Kutcher. He's an engineer. And he showed up in LA and booked his first audition, which was that 70s show. Yeah. And so he's invested a lot of his money into tech companies because he's an engineer.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I wonder if he wonders if, that may be a crazy question, but I wonder if he ever wonders if he should have been an engineer.
But he kind of is because he's investing in all these tech companies now that the show's over. Yeah. And he married a girl on the show who lied about her age to get on the show. So he would help her with her homework because she was like 14. She still had to go to school. He would do her chemistry homework.
What's her name?
Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the engineering helps. It's not what made him rich. The show made him rich, but he knew how to invest in tech because he had the engineering background.
Do you do voiceover too?
Everyone tells me I should do voiceover. I would love to do voiceover. It's very hard to get into. Apparently, I have to go take a class somewhere, which costs money, which I haven't done yet. I would love to do voiceovers. I was almost a voice several times. I have done voiceovers for a couple commercials before I was union. So yes, voiceover people, hit me up. I speak languages. I can do stuff. Trained singer. I can do stuff to my voice.
The language is great because you could have the same actor do the multiple languages instead of
Right. Well, I do have an accent in a couple of them, so it would be pretty obvious. But
maybe that's charming.
Well, it's more realistic, right? Like, I was seeing this guy over in India. He's a Bollywood star. We met in LA, and he was doing stuff in India. And he was like, Sadia, how come every time the world is in danger, only the Americans can save it? And I felt like I'd been bitch slapped. I was like, because we think the world revolves around us. But he was like, if the world was in danger, wouldn't you ask other countries to help? Like, why do only the Americans have the answer? And so I think we're going to start seeing more international movies where instead of a white guy, a black girl, Asian person, we're going to have someone from India and someone from Brazil and someone from Germany, because every country is really good at something.
Yeah,
and why wouldn't the aliens?
I loved Captain Planet because of that. Remember they had with our powers combined, I am Captain Planet. And
there you go.
Continents, and they didn't have the word woke back then.
Right.
We just did it. It was like, I guess you'd say global, and you didn't really have a word for
it.
Like, well, if you're talking about the world, of course you'd have people from all over the world. It just made sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky. I lived in France for 2 years. I lived in Brazil for 2 years. I was going to go to India 3 times to be in some movies. So, I mean, I know a lot about some different cultures. There's tons of them I don't know anything about. But I've learned that everybody is really good at stuff. Brazilians are excellent at novellas, like just amazing. And the food and the music. And like, we're good with our music, but they're also really good at their music.
Oh, sure.
And not enough people know, like, the bossa nova, or they call it Brazilian popular music, musica MPB, Música Popular Brasileira.
I've started listening to a lot of samba.
Yeah, because you're in Portuguese class. Yeah.
And I listened to the band Os Originais de Samba, which is like the samba originals, and I was playing it for my Brazilian friends, and they're like, wow, Justin. They're like crazy impressed because they're like, it's something their grandparents would have listened to.
Send me the link. Send me the link.
Oh yeah, I will. It's the song's called Falador Passa Mal, which basically, means like bad things happen.
Speak to those badly.
Or speak too much.
Crap. Yeah.
Like
talk crap, bad things happen.
Yes, exactly. Falador Passa Mal. So
but what makes me, but like so much of the bossa nova music from the 60s got so badly translated. I retranslated Girl from Ipanema because the rhythm in English, it's supposed to be she's swinging, right? And what do? Tall and tan and young and love. No, make it stop.
Yeah. Wow. What about this song? Mais Canada. Isn't it supposed to be Mais Canada, right?
Well, in Rio, it's mais. Everywhere else, it's mice.
Oh, okay.
So the Rio, that's just their accent. It's like having a southern accent. So the minute you say mais, there I got karaoke. Somebody from Rio.
From Rio.
Oh, awesome!
I'm not sure. I've been talking. I don't know if I have like any touch of a Rio accent or just a gringo accent. I learned Italian from a guy from Milan. Eu falo português agora, às vezes volta como sotaque de Europa e a outra volta como sotaque de Brasília. Mas eu falo como gringo, mais que nada.
That's so cute.
I was speaking that at a Brazilian restaurant recently, and the guy's laughing. He's like, "You sound like a gringo," but they understood everything. So I guess.
So the one thing I have trouble with in Portuguese is the R. Sometimes in Portuguese, when I say I'm American, they think I'm saying I'm Mexican because they say I'm Americana and they hear Mexicana. So I need to go back to a speech therapist. I took a Brazilian friend with me. I paid $150. I had a list of words with R's. I was like, he's going to say these 5 words, and then I'm going to say them, and we're going to fix me. And she was like, yeah, it's this one sound. And it's like the gym for your mouth. I just need to get better muscles to get that sound right. Yeah. Yeah, you can learn any accent.
How are you supposed to say it? Mexicano?
Don't listen to me because I say it wrong, because my R's are bad. But, oi, so Sadia, so Americana Bacana. That means I'm the cool American. But sometimes people be like, where are you from? And I'll be like, I'm so Americana. And they're like, Mexicana? I'm like, no, Americana. And apparently there's one part of Brazil where they have an American accent. Like, they have my accent.
What?
So they're like, just say the R normal, Sadia. It sounds like you're from the south of Brazil. So you're also Americana. Not
wow.
I don't know. My R's are... Because the R's are H's, like it's not Rio de Janeiro, it's Rio de Janeiro.
Listen to this. So, I saw a show called The Fall. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's really good. It's on Netflix. And who's the woman from? The woman from? Gillian Anderson.
Oh my God, the X-Files.
So I had no idea where this thing was filmed, but it was English, right? But everybody's talking about this. It was in English, I should say, but everybody's talking with this accent that almost sounds American. And I'm like, where the hell is this? And I Googled
Brazil?
it, and it's Belfast. And then I looked it up, and English and Irish people, I'll say this isn't true, but I looked it up, and a lot of the American immigrants come from Northern Ireland, and it influenced the accent, and there's a lot of the similar sounds, and it's tricky to show because if I remember, the R's are like American style, like in the T's.
Well, but Boston, Park the Can have a yard, Boston kind of Irish. Like there's a ton of Irish people in Boston.
This sounded more like a flat American.
More like what?
Yeah.
Wait, I couldn't hear you. Cut up.
Like kind of like a flat, half neutral American accent. It didn't sound like Boston.
Okay.
For some reason. Oh, by the way, I met this is funny, but I met this guy in Barcelona, this cab driver who was speaking Spanish to me. He was so proud because he wanted his daughter to learn the most pure American accent. So he sent her to Boston. I guess he thought that that's the Madrid of. It doesn't work like that, right? We don't have a Royal Academy of English.
Right. There's no royal. It's so hard for Europeans to understand how big we are. You know, I would tell my students when I was teaching adults in Paris, France, I said, if I get on a plane in LA, I'm in the air for 6 hours before I land in New York. If it's noon in New York, it's 9 a.m. in LA. And we're also accustomed to this. But the time in France is the time in France, and the time in Germany is the time in Germany. So I got into some problems with people in London because they knew somebody in Texas, which is Central, and I'm Pacific. I'd be like, so what time is the call? And they would be like, oh, for the U.S., it's at 10. But that's 2 hours ahead of me. So I would show up, and I was like, it just blows their mind. They have no idea how big we are. So I would say, if you get on a plane in London and fly for 6 hours, where are you? In Pakistan? I don't know.
Also, if you're in a small country like the Netherlands, right, there's not that much country, right? Because you've got Rotterdam and Amsterdam, and Groningen and Nijmegen.
It's like probably Rhode Island, Delaware size. I don't know.
There's so much country. So they're comparing a country with. And I don't just mean like literally the land. I mean the mentality and the farming and the agriculture and politics.
I've lived on the West Coast for a bunch of years now, and it is very different from the East Coast. Like we're not really the same. We all have the same flag, we all have the same president, but we are very different culturally.
I gotta go. Whoops, I got a meeting. Sorry to break it
snap! No, it was great talking to you.
For everything, I'll send you the recording, and welcome to the Shitshow movie podcast.
Thanks, Captain Crab.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you.